And we are back on the build phase for the conclusion of a very special event, the first ever Radlands tournament. Welcome to the Radlands. We are sitting here at the final table. I am joined by our two players. Sam, welcome to the finals.
Thank you, Mr. Ben. Thanks for having me, and thanks for hosting this awesome tournament.
Awesome. All right, and also our other finalist is Mike. Welcome to the finals.
Absolutely. Thank you. This has been a great time. Thanks for hosting. It's been fun.
All right, well,
You go first.
All right. My three camps: supply depot. For 2 water, I can draw 2 cards and discard one of those cards, and that gives me 2 cards. Transplant lab. For 1 water, I can, if I put 2 people into play or more, I can restore a card. If this card isn't damaged, I flip over destroyed camp and destroy that card, and it gives me 2 cards.
so just right off the bat here, we've got 6 cards in the opening hand for Sam.
Let's reveal mine here. So I've got the arcade for 1 water. If I have 0 or 1 people, I can get a punk. That gives me 1 card. The garage for 1 water, I can start or advance a raider. And then the command post gives me 2 cards. And then for 3 water, I can do a damage, not an injure. But it costs 1 less for every punk I have in play. That's that. And
All right.
so I'll leave those up. Try and remember to put my cards out there. I have a hard time remembering that sometimes. But
Yeah, same here. Yeah, and if I forget, just hit me up. It's fine.
use my arcade to put a punk out. And then I will also play a Vanguard, which lets me also put out a punk.
Wow, Vanguards on both sides.
Then I will use my command post for just the 1 water because I've got the 2 punks, and I'll hit your transplant lab.
So at this point, even though he started off at a card disadvantage of half, Mike has actually, with turn 1, produced a stronger board state than Sam was able to. Now, a lot of this comes down to the fact that Sam starts off turn 1 with only 1 water, so that slows down his ability to deploy those many threats from his hand. But still, that's a very strong turn 1 for Mike, starting from such a disadvantaged position.
And I guess that's turn.
Okay. Refill on water, no events, draw a card.
So now that Sam's sitting here with a full drink of water, let's
2 water, I'll play the 0 event strafe, which damages all unprotected enemies.
oh jeez. So 2 water to wipe out 2 enemies. That's a good trade there for Sam.
For 1 water, I will hit your command post,
Wow. So now the
and you
drawback
can do damage back to me.
the drawback on the Vanguard is Mike is able to now actually put damage onto a camp. So Mike coming out to a little bit of an early lead here with the first player to successfully get a camp down. And Sam fed him that damage through the use of the Vanguard. Now I almost have to feel with the spell book that Sam's got in his hand, he had to have kind of predicted this line of play and has additional cards that he can junk to generate resources and get some extra stuff out onto the board. I think it's unlikely that you activate a Vanguard giving your opponent the ability to damage one of your camps and not be in a position where you can follow that play up with either developing some more threats or dealing some more
Will
damage.
See. Sorry about that. Thinking.
Just keep in mind your cards are dangerously close to. Yeah, I can't see them
thank you.
yet. Can't see them yet, but just be careful.
They're on the edge.
Good sportsmanship from Mike there. Trying to remind Sam, like, while I do think it's important, especially during webcam play, for players to try to keep their hands, or if not entirely visible, close to visible, to hedge against anybody trying to stack their decks. It's definitely good form to let your opponent know, hey, you're tipping that a little too far. So Sam ends up passing turn here. He's got maybe too many options at this point. It's surprising to me that he would give Mike the opportunity to damage one of his camps and not be able to follow that up with a camp damage to his own, especially with Mike's command post sitting there already damaged and therefore ripe for destruction. Ripe for destruction. I feel like that should be the name of the band that's inspired by this board game. So Mike's in a pretty tight spot here. He started off with only 3 cards, and I know I keep coming back to that, but that's a big difference starting the game with 6 cards in your opening hand before your initial draw, or 3. So while Mike did have a relatively strong turn 1, Sam was able to use 1 card to eliminate those 2 punks and bring almost parity to the board. Now, he did feed Mike the ability to damage a camp, but knowing how many resources are in Mike's hand and knowing how many resources are in Sam's hand, I got to feel like at this juncture in the game, Sam has got to be feeling more comfortable than Mike is.
Bombardment to heal that command post.
Oh, all right, restoring his command post. So that brings Mike up to full heal. I think that's really important, is trying to keep his camps healthy during this, and what's sure to be a high-pressure initial push from Sam with this massive card advantage that he's got in his grip. There is an argument that
use the Vanguard
bombardment.
Oh wow! Is that the construction yard that's open there?
That's right.
Yep.
All right, so Vanguard going into the construction yard. I imagine.
Then you can hit me back.
We're gonna see the arcade.
I'll hit the arcade.
Yep. Arcade gets clipped. So both players now have utilized a Vanguard activation that has resulted in one of their camps getting damaged back. Obviously, it's more devastating to have your camp destroyed versus just damaged, but still. A lot of damage being thrown around in the first 3 turns of the game.
And spend the 1 water to get the Raiders going. And
all right.
That's enough.
So the garage, being a 0 card draw camp, is now starting to show a little bit of its strength, where Mike is able to throw 1 water, which is very cheap, 1 water to get a raid going. Basically half the cost of other activations like you find on cards like Victory Totem.
1 water. I will play Wounded Soldier.
So Wounded Soldier is going to come out here. That's going to allow Sam to draw a card, and then it's going to wound the soldier. So the soldier does have the ability to deal damage himself printed on the card, but unless you have the ability to restore him, which I'm not surprised Sam used the restore there on his camp rather than the wounded soldier. If you can't restore him, his ability just doesn't see that much play. Basically, this guy is a punk who says draw a card.
For 1 water, I'll play Gunner.
Gunner's a scary card.
Gunner, for 2 water, I can damage all unprotected enemies.
Okay, thanks.
So that's setting Sam up for his next turn to be able to essentially wipe Mike's whole board. Just using the abilities that he has in play here, he could wipe all the characters off Mike's board. Now, that might not be ideal. I think you
For 1 water, I'm going to play Interrogate, draw 4 cards, and discard 3 of these.
Okay. I think he'd probably rather use the Vanguard's power to hit a camp than to play cleanup on the Vanguard. So if he activates the Gunner, that's going to damage the Punk, which will remove it from play, and it'll damage the Vanguard. That would then leave Sam in the position where he could spend 1 more water. So that'd be
When I
a full
play
3
with my
water
kid,
this
we
turn.
call this one the flow killer.
And he'd kill, he'd kill the Mike's Vanguard. But is that what you want to do with the Vanguard, especially knowing that you have another damage coming back your way after it resolves? Tough.
Dead.
Yeah.
Negan, you know.
Oh, that's a good call out from Sam. The art on Interrogate
art
does
was
kind of
pretty
is
great.
reminiscent of
Oh,
Negan.
yeah, it's awesome.
That's one thing I really like about the art
I'm
in this
going
game
to
is they didn't
junk.
take one post-apocalyptic property and pay homage to it. They put little like Easter eggs at. So Famine didn't injure there on the Punk. I'm surprised he didn't damage the Vanguard.
And in turn.
Wow, especially with that being the end of the turn. I would have thought injure the Vanguard. That ensures Mike can't use it on his turn, and then next turn that sets you up to
I've
use
noticed
the Gunner.
I'm watching some of the streams
and kill everything.
You guys put all your water up here. Okay with it. It seems to be different than what everybody else is doing after I collect it.
Okay, yeah. So
At the end of it.
The end of your turn, it does go in the water supply.
Yeah, there's the special rules about how to use the playmat, and I don't care. I just noticed that I was the only one, and I was hoping you weren't gonna worry about it either. I guess.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
the
I
water
think
goes
I
into the
followed
discard
what
when it's
everybody
not
else
your
was
turn.
doing. So
Yeah.
I like that better because it's one less thing to worry about. So
Okay.
Right.
I will follow your lead.
So that advanced.
Well, just so we're clear, in the game rules, it says to put the water in the water discard when it's not your turn, and then you recharge your water at the start of your turn, but whatever. Man, so I think at this point Mike is down to 2 cards in hand. I might have lost track. Either way, small number of cards in hand. There's certainly an argument for spending 1 water on the garage to try to get a raid through and damage one of those camps. Unfortunately, with that Gunner sitting across the board, I feel like if I'm in Mike's shoes, that's my priority number 1, is to figure out a way to get through that wounded soldier and at least injure, if not destroy, that Gunner, because you don't want him to be able to have that as a threat hanging over any kind of board. Like if Mike tries to develop a board here and put some threats out, the Gunner's just going to knock him down.
Think.
Should also probably point out that the Gunner is an extremely strong counter to the command post strategy. While both the arcade and the command post on Mike's side want to generate punks to the board, the Gunner is very adept at just chewing through those 1 hit point chump blockers. So this card not only poses a threat to any potential board state that Mike wants to develop, it poses a threat to his ability to get value out of his camps throughout the course of the game. Seems like a very big threat.
1 water the Mimic behind.
Is that last water going to force the raid through? I mean, that doesn't feel super strong here. I don't think you want to use your Vanguard. So if Mike uses his Vanguard here, and I'm in Sam's shoes, I absolutely hit the command post with my strike back, and then at the start of my turn, I'm set up to use my Vanguard to destroy his command post. So I don't think Mike is in a position where he can use his Vanguard. He's too exposed.
I think I'm going to. Yeah, I'm gonna bank the water into the water silo. and pass turn.